Yeah, so welcome to the yoga and strength conditioning class. We're going to be using a foam roller this afternoon and also 2 yoga blocks, and I have a physioball here as well. I would like to start each time for the next several weeks. I'm going to start us with this work we do with the pelvic floor and the roller because it's so foundational to our experience and also our physical and mental well-being. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to take your roller and sit on it in a kneeling position. You're going to sit on the front edge of the roller. So I am on the very front edge of the roller, and that means that my sitting bones are on the round part of the roller, left to right, and I can roll it side to side and I can feel that. But if I tip the pelvis, I don't feel my pubic bone running into the roller. So I don't have that sense that it's colliding. And when I tip back, I can feel the tailbone touching a part of the roller too. So that's kind of to orient you. You can see here's my roller with my feet. And then that's where I'm sitting. So please take a comfortable seat. You can then close your eyes and let your attention come inside. You have made it to the yoga and strength conditioning class. You have already demonstrated self-care. So let your breath and your mind both come down to the sensations of the sitting bones on the roller. And as you breathe into those sensations, let's imagine on the inhale that the 2 sitting bones move gently apart. And on the exhale, that the 2 sitting bones move gently towards each other. And just breathe in a relaxed and present moment way. You don't have to make it a strong yogic breath. Just the daily experience of the breath is actually such that when we're breathing naturally, there is a pulsation at the pelvic floor also. And then you can bring in the Ujjayi breath and let that be a guide for the sound of the breath in the inner ear. Will further direct your mind to come into your body. And with the inhale specifically now, imagine that the 2 sitting bones widen apart and it's like the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor becomes more spacious. And during the exhale, imagine the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor gets more toned. During the inhale, you can think of the 2 sitting bones and the tailbone, and they're kind of spreading apart. And with the Ujjayi exhale, think of the pubic bones and the sitting bones, and they're kind of moving towards each other. No actual detectable movement may be there, but a sense of toning the front hemisphere and actually relaxing or opening the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor. Now, as you next exhale, then curl the tailbone forward and down so that the sacrum rolls back, kind of like a cat pose tilt. And then as you inhale, roll up over the sitting bones and tip the pelvis forward in an anterior tilt, like cow pose. So rolling back. You may feel the tailbone right there. And then inhale, roll forward. The back hemisphere of the pelvic floor expands. And exhale, roll back and see if you can tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor. It's always easier to tone the back hemisphere. We tend to be tight there anyway. So when you're inhaling to roll forward, think of the sitting bones and the tailbone having more freedom. And when you're exhaling to roll back, consider the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor having actually more tone. And do that one more time, please. Inhale to roll forward. And exhale to roll back. And then bring yourself to an upright place, and let's take the right foot and place it up in Marichyasana. So now you have one hip in greater flexion, that's the right one, and the other hip is in lesser flexion. You can also roll this roller a little bit side to side, or you can roll yourself on the roller a little side to side. And get to know what's happening with the sitting bones there. And then find the place where you think, okay, I'm sitting in the center of these two bony landmarks and the tailbone is also there. And then cross your left hand over your right knee. Right hand the roller behind you, and please twist to your right. And again, I'm going to suggest that on the inhale, you're expanding the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor. And on the exhale, you're toning the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor. Do that for 2 more breath cycles. So this is not just for your physical health, but also for our mental well-being. Yeah, and then unwind from this side for the twist. And let's go to the other side. So bring the left foot up. Check again that you can kind of roll the roller a little bit side to side. You might realize, like, I feel like my left sitting bone is a little bit different than my right. I did have my left hip surgery maybe 6 months ago, and my right hip surgery is more than 10 years ago. So still some healing on the left side, and I can feel that when I'm rolling left to right here. So look for your center. When you feel like the two sitting bones and the tailbone are kind of equally present on the roller, then bring your left hand around on the back of the roller, bring your right hand around on your left shin and twist to your left. Notice the breath pattern that you have and see if you can encourage the inhale to expand the back of the pelvic floor, almost like you're breathing into the back of your body. And encourage the exhale to tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor and the front hemisphere of the lower belly. And exhale and rotate around to face forward and bring both knees up. So now you are sitting more obviously in full flexion, and we have the sitting bones on the round part of the roller. Let's just encourage that pressure to be comfortable if possible. And then I'm going to ask you to roll back to lie on your roller. So holding on to your cat tail for support is not a good idea because the cat might move. So roll back onto your roller. When you lie back, there should be enough space for the average torso to have your head and your hips on the roller together. You're going to take the arms out to the side. I have to move my blocks. So arms out in a gentle downward slope. Let the shoulders relax towards the floor. And then connect to the lower belly, especially right above the pubic bone. And raise your right knee up to a 90-90 position like this. And then raise the left knee up to a 90-90 position. Keep the back of your hands on the floor casually. You're not making cement handprints on the floor. Touch the right toes down onto your cat. Touch the left toes down. Let's keep the lumbar spine. Relatively speaking, it's going to be down against the roller. It doesn't have to be flat. We're not doing a turbo tuck here, but I do want you to have a sense that there's spinal stability. And now we're going to proceed like this. Exhale, raise your right knee. Inhale, raise your left knee. Exhale, right toes down. Inhale, right knee up. Exhale, left toes down. Inhale, left knee up. Now exhale, right toes down, left knee close. Inhale to neutral, 90-90. Exhale, left toes down, right knee close. Inhale to neutral, 90-90. Exhale, right toes down, left knee in. Inhale to neutral. Exhale, left toes down, right knee in. Inhale to neutral. Once more on each side. Touch your toes down to your cat's head. And last time, 90-90. And then bring the toes back to the floor or onto the cat. Now relax the belly and see what happens in the aftermath of that. Notice where your mind is. Now we're going to take a yoga strap, and this is to highlight core strength and stability with outer hip stability as well. So our yoga strap is going to go around the knees, above the kneecaps on the thighs. And the way that I recommend that you do this is to make the loop larger. My cat. So, oh, okay, I have more than one cat in class today. All right, so make the loop larger than you're going to need it to be. Slip it on like a mini skirt, and then make it a little bit snug. Pardon me, Panda. Okay. And now as you press out against the strap, what's going to happen is you should feel some support at the outer hips, the deep six muscles. So if you inhale and the body's relaxing, you can feel it has this laxity to it that we also need. Suppleness is a combination of flexibility and strength. So in the inhale, there can be a kind of relaxation to the body. When you exhale, press your knees out against the strap and notice the outer hip muscles. You're probably also going to notice that the back of the pelvic floor easily tightens, more so than the front hemisphere. Right? So as you inhale, relax your sacrum and your sitting bones on the roller. And then exhale, press out with the strap and try to tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor, not only the back. The back is going to come with the action, so put your focus on the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor. So inhale to release. Exhale, slowly press out as if you were using a dimmer switch to gradually increase to your full tone. Include the front of the pelvic floor. And then you inhale to release, also like you're moving a dimmer switch. So it's not sudden or abrupt. There are gradations of tone, increasing and releasing as you practice. And now the next time that you press out, I'm going to ask you to sustain that kind of position where you also have the front of the pelvic floor is toned. And see if you can then exhale and raise your knees up and keep your balance. And let's let it just be breathable. So when you press out against the strap, sustain that. Now we're not doing an activation and then a release. We're going to sustain the action. And see if you can imagine finding your balance on the roller. So you can even come to your fingertips instead of the back of your hands. Maybe you'll say, look, Ma, no hands. And at one moment, both hands will be lifted and you will not be falling off the roller. Or if you do, you'll be lighthearted about it. And then with an exhale, start taking the toes back down towards the floor, keeping the lumbar spine stable. And then release at least one knee from the strap. Maybe you'll get both. You can be dexterous with your feet. And take the arms overhead, open the low belly and the pelvis. And we're going to roll down sideways from the roller to come up to sitting. I'm looking for kittens. Okay. Roll down to your side and come on up, please. Okay, let's keep our roller, but for the moment, we're going to set it aside. And bring in your physioball, please. I'm going to use my large physioball today so I can demonstrate that you can have some variety. And please bring your yoga strap with you so that it's going to be within reach. And so for me, that means putting it on the shelf. Right here, you could also put it on the floor, of course. Looks like my strap is also going to be a cat toy. Okay, so find your way to sitting on the ball. Remember that if the ball is quite a bit too high for you, you can put blocks under your feet or a bolster or your roller. Otherwise, you can also tippy toe like I'm doing right now. What we're going to do is just rock a little bit front to back. Get familiar with the roll of the ball, this sort of rhythm that the ball has. And we're going to be going side to side in a moment. So go right and left, watching out for kittens. This is right where I want to be with my foot. So as you go side to side, explore how you keep your balance. And in fact, what you can end up doing is like a little bit of a leap over to the other side. And sometimes it's going to feel really natural for the arms to have this bit of a cross crawl pattern. So long as that feels natural, you can include it. And each time you're kind of landing there, right or left, as you land, notice the stabilizers in the core of the trunk and the abdomen. And make the arm actions bigger and more explicit. You're landing, in this case, my left foot and my right, at least when I'm talking to you. In the kitchen, my left foot is my left foot and my right foot is my right foot. And then see if you might, in the middle of the action, might there be a moment that's a little slower? So less momentum, a little bit slower. Can you find that? Notice when you look for it, what happens in the lower belly. We don't want you to feel tense in the lower belly, but if when you try to go slower, you might feel more tone, that you can play with. Bring it back to center. Rest your hands in your lap. And for a moment, close your eyes. Feel your plumb line here in vertical space. Let's see if we can raise one foot at a time. So if you roll slightly back behind your plumb line, I want to roll on my kitten. Roll slightly back behind the plumb line. And when you feel there's a spot there where you're actually balanced, then float the toes of one foot up off the floor. And then float the toes of the other foot if you are balanced. If you're not feeling balanced, don't grab for the wall or the door frame. Instead, use the toe tap method as long as you need to. You've got the toes down on one side and you're kind of finding your balance. Then you can switch to the other side. And notice even in the toe tap method that you're going to be passing communication signals back and forth across the abdomen. When we lift both feet, it's going to feel natural, like should not feel shaky or frightening. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is trust yourself to keep progressing, and you'll be in process with all these things. Let's bring the feet down to the floor so that they are a little bit wider than hip distance. And take your mini skirt strap and put that back on. And when you put it on, watch out for your kitten. Okay, so it goes like this, above the knees and on the thighs, like that. And place your feet flat on the floor. So that's going to feel more secure. Now, if you're on a tall ball like I am, if I roll forward, my knees go forward of my toes. My feet feel grounded, but my knees are forward of my toes. It's not that stable. So instead, I'm going to move the ball back so that I'm sitting. It's almost like 90-90. My hips are a little higher than my knees, so it's not quite that 90-90, but it's close to that. And I want you to press out against the strap with your thighs. You're going to feel the outer hips activating right there. Okay, clasp the hands. Inhale, raise your arms forward and up. And exhale, twist to your right with your upper body. Inhale, interlace the fingers, rise up. And then keep the thighs pressing out as you exhale, twist to your left. Gaze over your left shoulder. Inhale, return to center, rise up. So keeping the base stable, exhale, twist to your right. Inhale, forward and up with the arms. And exhale, rotate to your left. Once more to center, and we're going to stay in the twist for a few breath cycles this time. So notice that you want to keep pressing out with your thighs against the strap. We want the lower hemisphere of the body to be really stable, and you're twisting almost like the reverse of a corkscrew. You're twisting up rather than twisting down. We're twisting up towards the crown of the skull. And breathe smoothly in through the nose, out through the nose. Notice how much of your attention is needed to keep the base stable. And for now, allocate that attention there, because you may be remembering that you have a base today. And at other times you might be up in the twist or the glory of the stretch. But today I do appreciate if you remember the base. Now we're going to inhale, come to center, clasp the hands, raise up. And as the thighs keep pressing gently out against the strap, please twist to your left. Again, kind of like the opposite of a corkscrew, we're twisting up, like up and out, but we have to have the strong base to do that. And then one more breath cycle. And let's use the inhale to come forward and up again, raise the arms up. And now exhale, lower the arms out to the side, like the letter T. And let's picture we're going to come forward to chair pose. And how I'm going to encourage you to do that is like this. You bring your body weight forward, you reach the arms forward, and you raise up to chair pose, just coming right off the ball. So I'm not sitting on my ball now, I left it. And then rise up to standing, step the feet in, the strap will go down to the floor. And I'm going to ask you just to come to mountain pose and check and see how that is feeling. How much energy or aliveness or grounding do you feel like you have in the lower body right now? Okay. Now, we're going to stay off of the wrists because I want to support those of you who asked me about your wrists. There's more than one of you. So what I'd like to do, let me take my roller and place it here so it won't be in the way. we're going to come down to the knees and the forearms with the ball. And this is something that I personally enjoy, and I also know that it's difficult to do it. You can have padding for the knees. I have a very padded floor here, so watch out for kittens. Hi. All right, so please watch here for a moment. You're going to have your forearms on the ball. And when we start, we don't have the elbows on the top of the ball because we're going to roll forward. So I raise the hips up, I roll forward, and I want to be where I can put my body weight into the ball. And notice that I don't have my hips pushing back and they're not sagging forward. And then I'm going to roll this back to kneeling. And if somebody can't kneel all the way, they can roll back to their personal destination, however deep down that goes. So again, I'm starting with my fists interlaced here. The fists are on the front of the ball, and we go like this. Roll forward. Notice where the pelvis is. See if you can find the tone of the lower belly. And then press the arms down and roll back. Now, if the ball ran into you sooner than you wanted it to, start with it a little bit further forward from you, like this. And then raise up, roll forward. Lower the pelvis in line with your knees and your shoulders. Press the elbows down and roll back to sitting. And then again. So coordinating the action is something I think people have an easier time going forward because right here, gravity is going to be helping us to go forward. And we have to be really discerning right there not to sag. When you're coming back, also don't move the hips back first. Move the arms to bring yourself back. So it's not even that the hips are making the movement on the way back. So you press the arms down and that activates the return. And we'll do it twice more. So roll forward. And then roll yourself back, finding your way. And then last one, roll forward. Roll that back and pause. Just take notice how things are feeling. Okay, now come onto your abdomen on the ball and tuck the toes under. Okay, depending on the size of your ball, this is going to look different for different people. Raise the legs up like plank pose. Now you can see that if I went really high on my ball, my butt would be sticking up a little bit and I'd have an arch in my lower back. So that's not what we're looking for. I'm going to ask you to have your chest on the ball. So you're doing plank pose supported by the ball. Take the tailbone down towards the heels. You can put the arms over the front side of the ball like I'm doing. So with the tailbone going towards the heels and the chest resting on the ball, you have a kind of supported plank pose here right now. Ask yourself what would happen if you wanted to pick up. We're not actually going to do it, but I want you to visualize because visualizing turns on anticipatory muscles. Those are connected to your intrinsic core. So ask yourself, what would have to happen to pick up one foot? Imagine you're going to pick up your left foot and notice what happens in the right low belly. Then imagine putting the left foot down and imagine picking up your right foot. What happens to the left leg and the left low belly? Put the right foot down in your imagination and pick up the left foot. And then switch one more time. And then roll back, knees to the floor. And once more, rest a moment. So we're kind of turning things on in the body, like turning on a breaker switch, right? Bringing awareness to different parts of the body. What are you noticing as an echo? Now we're going to take that same pose on the forearms on the ball. So you have to stand up to start this one, watching out for kittens. I've got 2 here. I didn't realize they would be so enamored of this class. So, okay, so how you do this is you put your forearms on the ball and you walk it out. I move my feet back there using the squiggle toe method, the toe squiggle method, or the squiggly toe method, whatever you want to call it. So then you press your forearms down on the ball and you're in plank pose. Do not collapse onto your shoulders. Do press the ball down into the floor. Maintain the pelvis and the legs. And also the breath. And then we're going to glide the hips backwards, straighten the arms, and come into a kind of variation on Uttanasana or downward dog pose. Enjoy a deep breath in. Your body's in flexion now, so the lower belly should feel a little easier for breathing because of the orientation of the torso. And lift your head, look forward, and start rolling forward onto your toes. Lower the tailbone in line with the heels. Press your forearms down against the ball. And keep breathing. And then again, glide your hips backwards, press your forearms onto the ball, and straighten your elbows so that you end up with your arms like an arrow. Do that one more time. So look forward, be aware of where the kitten tails are. Come forward and onto the toes. Lower your pelvis down in line from your heels to your shoulders. Smile at your own efforts. And then roll your hips back and smile also at the mischief that surrounds you. In my case, that is the mischief of kittens. Okay, and let's roll this back up to standing. Bring your ball towards you and rise up to stand. Okay, so those are a couple of ways to explore the poses with the physioball, the plank pose especially. Let's take a look at what happens when you go backwards over this ball. It's one of the sort of building blocks of this practice, and a way to get comfortable with it is you actually could do it. Let me show you as if this is my wall here. Let me show you as if I was facing this way. You can walk your toes up to the baseboard, and then you can bend the knees and start rolling yourself backwards over the ball like this. So I have my knees bent. They're not touching the wall. My feet are at the baseboard, so that's kind of stabilizing. And then you lounge over the ball backwards like this. So that is one option for feeling more stable. You also can do it where you're more freestanding in the middle of the room, but not on the cat's tail. And so here you go over the ball backwards. The knees are still bent. The feet are flat on the floor. Let's open the arms to the extent that your shoulders allow for it. And then whether your feet are at the baseboard or just on the floor, let yourself rock a little bit front to back, a little bit side to side. Try to get familiar with the feeling of the ball rolling. And then you may choose to float the arms overhead in a like upward hands pose or even chair pose, downward dog. See if you can still tolerate a little bit of mobility from the ball as you roll it about. And know that as you move the ball like this, you are training up your intrinsic core muscles because they are responsible for helping you they first act before your global muscles do, the larger muscles. Now I'm going to ask you to exhale, take the arms wide, bring your chin towards your throat. And if you're at the wall, then you're going to push yourself backwards to come up to standing. And if you were in the middle, you're going to walk your feet back and stand up on your ball. Stand up on the floor, excuse me. So we're all then sitting on the ball for a moment and just see, how does it feel to come back to this position? Please rise up to standing in mountain pose. I'm going to keep my ball close by. I'm kind of babysitting my ball right now. Okay, so what we had there was flexion and stabilization across the front belly, of course. Then we had openness for the whole torso, but especially for the upper chest and the heart. Combining those kinds of things together is kind of creating a course correction for our posture, where lots of people are more lumbar extension. They have their tip forward like this, and then they have thoracic flexion like this. So we're kind of course correcting that in terms of our posture. Let's see if we can bring those two qualities together as we practice triangle pose with the ball. So what you're going to do is take a wide stance like this. You got to babysit your ball. Hopefully your ball is tall enough that you can touch it. It's not rolling away. Take the left heel out to the side. Turn the right foot directly to the right. So now my ball is really near to my right foot. No harm done, no danger for the ball to be that close to the foot. Okay, root down through your tailbone. Energize your legs, including the outer hip muscles that you made contact with earlier. Notice the tone here, but not tightness or gripping. And then inhale like you're leaning back over the ball. Because you have tone here, it's not like you're leaning back in a flimsy manner, but just that feeling of freedom that you had a moment ago. And now use your fingers to walk your ball out. And then take the left arm overhead. So press firmly into your left heel. Tone your left leg muscles. Include the outer hip, the outer thigh. Include your left butt in what it means to be toned on the left side. Press into your right footprint and tone the muscles of your right leg as well. And then as you're lengthening the left hemisphere of the body, keep your fingers on the ball firm enough that you're not collapsing into your right shoulder. Now with an exhale, use your left low belly and your left leg to bring yourself up, left arm near your ear, and then release the left arm. Let's go to the other side. I have to make space in my room here, so I'll scooch over this away. So the right heel points out, left foot goes to the left. So again, press into your feet and find the tone that you were creating before in the other activities. And then inhale, sweep your right arm out to the side. And walk your fingertips out on the ball. Now press those fingertips down so you've got some tone underneath the left arm. You're not hanging in the left shoulder. And then sweep your right arm past your right ear. And press into your right outer heel, engage your right outer hip, outer thigh, your right butt. Tone the left leg all the way down to your left heel, and even the toes, they press down against the floor. Lengthen your right side waist as you reach into your fingers. And then with an exhale, keep your right arm near to your ear, and exhale, use your right low belly to come up. The reason that the arm stays with the ear is that I don't want you to use your arm as momentum to come up, but rather this intrinsic core support down here. And so in that regard, of course, if you can't come up with your arm near your ear, you will lower the arm and then come up. So now come to mountain pose. Let's put this guy away. And come into your mountain pose and check and see, okay, how are things feeling? Foam roller. We're going to come down on the forearms on this roller. Okay, so place your roller horizontally across your mat, like this. We're going to do some of the, what I call the basics. Let me just get my hair off my face if I can manage it. Sometimes I can't keep it all up in the hair tie. Sometimes I can. One moment. Okay, so we're going to come over to the forearms. You start on your thighs, and we're going to roll top to bottom, north to south. Keep the lower belly toned but not tight. As you're rolling north to south, turn your toes out. So you're going to get a little bit more to the inner edge of the quadriceps. Then make your feet neutral so you're on the center of the quadriceps. Then turn the toes in a little bit, so you're going to migrate towards the outer edge of the quadriceps. And then keeping your left arm where it is, put your right hand on the floor next to your left elbow, like about plank pose distance away, and turn to your outer left thigh. Now this is pretty sensational for lots of people. I made that look easy and not painful. In fact, it's not painful, there is pressure, and this is my 6-month-old hip, so there's pressure that I won't have on the other side, but I wouldn't say that it's painful. If it's painful for you, an option is to step the top foot forward, and then you've got less body weight on the roller. Or you could put some blankets under the roller, like make the floor more and more padded, then your roller is going to be more forgiving. Okay, and let's come back to center. And then put your left hand down in line with your right elbow. Roll to your right outer thigh. And as you're rolling, we call this north to south or top to bottom. I'm referring to the head as north and the feet as south. You want to keep the tone we've been making in the lower belly so that your body is stable on the roller. And come back to center. And walk your hands back and come up to kneeling. And check and see again, how are things feeling? Let's take the roller and the blocks. So place the blocks and the roller. You don't know where we're going yet, so you can follow me. You're going to want those blocks to be there for your feet when we get to Shavasana. So put them kind of, watch out for hair clips now, put them proximally where they're going to need to be. Lie on your back with the roller between your hips and your heels. And then we pick up the hips and we're going to put the roller underneath, like that. Raise your knees up. Oh, reach for your yoga strap. Place it around the thighs, like a mini skirt. And press out into the strap with your knees. So you're going to be maintaining, if you put the strap on, look at your thighs now that they can be pretty much hip distance and parallel. And you're going to press out against the strap with the thighs, even as you then roll side to side. And the reason to keep pressing out, there are several reasons, but for this afternoon, I want you to keep your right outer hip abductors. When you come over to the left, keep these muscles turned on here. including the deep six muscles, which are between the trochanter and the sitting bones. And same when you go to the other side, that you're going to keep, when you twist right, you're going to keep your left outer hip stable. It's an added level of concentration for the mind, but also an added level of stability for your body. And as you're rolling across here, you might notice that when the knees go in one direction, there's a certain responsibility from one side of the belly to the other. And as you're changing directions, a certain kind of responsibility gets passed off like a baton. And we want the baton passing to be smooth. Turn to center. And as you come back to center, then keeping enough tone in the lower belly, touch the feet down. Raise your hips, you can be on your tiptoes, raise the hips and bring the roller under the back of your hamstrings. Loosen your strap. And take your feet up onto the blocks. So what happens in this position, the strap is just an extra little support because we had it, but the roller and the blocks are giving you a time where your pelvis is now going to be in a little bit of flexion, the lumbar spine more down against the floor. And then you can close your eyes. This is Shavasana. Allow your awareness to return to the places in your body. You might be just getting to know them in this class, so let your attention come down to say thank you. You can lie there if you want to. Sure. Allow your mind to relax those places in the body that you might be meeting during this class or getting reacquainted with. Just come down with a quality of appreciation or a gentle thank you. Every part of the body to feel appreciated and to relax. The Shavasana is a time for integrating, for renewing. And don't let your mind daydream.
The relaxation of the body to go a little deeper now. For all parts of your body to feel the appreciation. Deeply relax your mind, not only your body, but also your mind. The rest to go a few degrees deeper now, permeating not only the muscles and the bones, but the layers of the mind that cause the stress or tension as well. And again, one more layer deep, deeper than the mind patterns, let the senses also feel renewed. Wiggle the fingers and the toes a little bit. Roll your head side to side. I'll be transitioning from this position, disturbing the kittens or the dogs, whatever you have there. You roll to your side and come up to sitting.
To kneeling, which is pretty much where we began. You can kneel on your roller if you'd like to, or you can kneel just on the floor. Close your eyes and try to get a sense of what your experience is now. The felt sense of the breath, in fact, is it deeper in the body? Does it feel a bit more relaxed in the body? And also notice the quality of the mind, if it feels maybe more cohesive or connected or more fluid, maybe more relaxed, possibly less uptight or hijackable. And then connect at the base, come back to your base at the pelvic floor. And what do you notice there? You can bring your hands to your heart. Thank you. You may bow your head to your heart. We'll close our recording so that I can be with you all.